Hello and good evening. Welcome back to IIRL Recently, live on Twitch. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, welcome too. Hope you're doing well. Feel free to say hi in the chat if you are watching live on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, drop us a comment. So, 2 weeks left. That's all you're getting. Before Christmas, we've got 28 days to go. It is very exciting. Game sound or mic sound is too loud. Game, okay. How is this? Is that any better? No change. Interesting. I'll wait to get into the sprint quali, and then let me know if it's too loud or not. Maybe I'm not speaking loud enough. Try from game settings. I've tried from the live streaming settings on Xbox. I can turn it down more, but it just doesn't look right. These are the settings I've always had, so yeah. We'll see how it is in game. It might be different in game compared to the soundtrack. Yes, welcome on in, everybody. Are we excited for Christmas? There's bound to be one comment saying we're still in November. Stop talking about Christmas. But hey ho. I am a Christmas enthusiast. Nine people, yes. I think it's either Top Gun or that guy. I can't remember. It has a T in his name. Is joining in qualifying. So we are expecting at least one more. Yes, maybe people are doing their weekly Tuesday raids at Tesco. Who knows? So the final sprint race week. It's quite nice actually that our season has now aligned with the real F1 season. It's quite nice. I think for the first time in IIRL's history where we've done a full season calendar, we technically... Actually, no, we won't finish before F1 does, because 82 finishes on Sundays. Well, it was a nice theory. Ignore my sentence. So yes, feel free to comment if the audio is still too loud or too quiet compared to my West Country voice. JohnJohn dominance is boring people. Well, it's not boring me. But I understand. Just like in real life F1 when Max was winning everything, people were saying it was a bit boring, wasn't it? But it's not on JohnJohn. It's on everyone else to try and get a little bit quicker. So sprint quali means people, generally speaking, use a set of medium tyres for their first run and a set of soft tyres for their second run. So if you are watching a qualifying session with all medium tyres, that is why. And on board with JohnJohn then as he gets a little bit of a snap through the final corner, slams on the overtake before he gets to the line, switches it back into hot lap, which gives you ERS usage throughout the whole lap, corners and straights. Navigates turn 1 nicely there, widens the gap for the angle for turn 2 as much as he can, carry as much speed, hence therefore go a little bit quicker. You see he's going right on the exit, on the entrance curb before the right-hander of turn 4. It's a very tricky braking zone, easy to lock up, easy to get a snap of oversteer through the corner, get on the power early out of that left-hander, and you should be Gucci for a bit. Very high speed corners here, using all of the track. Going to be very invalidation heavy tonight. I hope you're ready for constant pings at the top of the screen about time penalties in the races. Navigates that pretty well. Back end wanting to step out, but JohnJohn on top of it. And JohnJohn, the newly crowned Season 7 and back-to-back-to-back NA champion, sets us off with a 1 minute 22.003. Only a few marks shy of James Bond there. Guess we could call him John Bond if he went 4 milliseconds slower. Sox pops in with a 1 minute 23.6, and the Mercedes coming to the line of Chivers. He does a 22.6. So only 0.6 away from John Bond. P3 at the moment. Padge went 10th and a bit slower than Sox. Girthy Steve pops into 3rd himself. Hascar 23.0, 1 second off the pace as things stand. If you're in the chat, feel free to tell us how are you feeling about Christmas this year. As Willow goes fastest than anyone so far tonight. They're chucking it in there, low on fuel. And a little bit of understeer As he's chucking it in, but the car just isn't quite turning to the same extent that he wanted, and as a result doesn't quite get onto the provisional front row of the sprint quali. Cold Camper not out of the pits yet. Has the set of soft tyres equipped, so only going for one run potentially. And only 3 people out on track. We have encountered the qualifying lull. Looks like, well, no, he's going back into the pits. I was going to say it looks like Earthy Steve's going to go for another run, but no, there's no reason to. Get the softs on, lads. Come back out on track. Let's see some quick times. Deflated on a Stormer. Look at this. Whoa. Look at that. 125 coming out the final corner. What a lap from Deflated. He has emerged. It is time for Cod Camper to pitch his tent. So here we go. I've seen a few people do this thing where you drive over the curb just before the corner, widen the corner, but depending on your ride height it can actually cause problems for your car. So you just need to make sure before you try that yourself, get your ride height sorted first. Oh, and here comes Aya. You are very welcome, Padge. Ooh, not sure if that was a twitch or a lag or something. A couple of moments there. Nicely controlled through the triple right of 12, 13 and 14. Chucks it in, very similar to Deflated. Car just not quite wanting to complete that corner the way that Cod Camper wanted it to, but didn't affect his lap time. 21.4. Should probably get up to that graphic. That is the fastest lap time and the tyre that was set on it. So everyone has these soft tyres equipped right now. Out on track we have Shivers, we have John, we have Greg, and we have Padge. Greg is coming to the line. Bit of traffic in the first sector for Greg to navigate. Hopefully those drivers get out of the way nice and quickly. Fingers crossed. But for Greg's perspective, he didn't lose any time through distractions or dirty air or turbulence, anything like that. He's got everything he needs, Greg. He's got confidence. Battling for the 82 Championship, which will be concluded in a couple of weeks' time. Willow not giving his teammate a tow. Difficult to give him a tow before turn 12, but some people try, some people don't. It's all good. A little bit deep into the final corner, Greg, and may have lost a little bit of momentum coming out of the final corner. And Willow here is getting a nice handy slipstream as he starts his lap. So, eyes out on track. He's coming around the final corner. We've got both Haas cars. Padge has invalidated. Girthy Steve starting a lap as we speak. What about JohnJohn? He is 6/10 up through the second sector. Good enough for a 0.4 as the checkered flag falls. This will be everyone's last run. JohnJohn then first to finish, and so far finishing first, 21-1. Very nice indeed. Chivers has invalidated, although 6/10 up himself through the middle sector. What would it have been? It would have been a 21-5 that would be good enough for P3. Cog Camper went a 10th quicker, but not quite quick enough to overturn John Bond. Here comes Willow now. He's 7/10 up, and he only needs 5/10 advantage. Keeps it clean out the final corner, and it's an 8/10 improvement, 20.7. That deflated, crosses the line, 21-2, and goes P3. Sox is invalidated and dips out of the run. Greg is back into the pits as Girthy Steve comes around the final corner, currently in P7. He goes P5. And what about Padge? He improves and goes ahead of Sox. II invalidated, I assume, because there is no lap time. Well, it was a bit crazy towards the end. I guess a 12-minute quali session will do that to a man. Willow has taken the sprint pole position. So there you go, confirmation. Willow will be starting on pole in La Serre for the Qatar Grand Prix. JohnJohn alongside him on the front row, followed by deflated Weecog Camber, Girthy Steve, Chivers, Greg, Padge, Sox, and Aya with no time on the board. I have no idea how fast Aya will be. Sprint race now. There will be a 5-minute break, I believe. Under the sun-setting sun in Qatar. In case you have been living under a rock, the championships have been decided for quite a while now. JohnJohn has claimed championship number 3. He is 157 points clear of deflated, only 3 races left, so of course he is champion. In the constructors, McLaren have, well, JohnJohn's won it basically. But there is a nice battle between RB, Red Bull and Mercedes for P2. There is only 22 points separating those 3 constructors. Doesn't mean they get anything bonus or special from it, but it's nice to have that kind of bragging rights. And to anyone watching tonight who is 20-year-old or older, you are officially older than this track. So congratulations. Give yourself a pat on the back. I know, quite surprising that the track is 20 years old, but opened in 2004. Surprising. You think of it being a new addition to the F1 calendar, or relatively new anyways, that it'd be a more recent track. And we will be getting going in a little over 1 minute time. So grab your snacks, grab your cup of tea, or whatever beverage you want. We're going to have a very interesting race. In real life F1, both Grand Prix we have had 2 so far have been led every lap by the pole sitter and have been won by the pole sitter. So, yes. And with everyone running very, very high wings. Yes, a little bit surprising, but with everyone running a relatively high wing setup. There is not going to be a massive wing difference for a lot of these drivers. Even in wet conditions, everyone will be running very, very similar wings. Haven't been told the weather. I assume it's not going to be damp. Got no Qatar drizzle in the air. Still got Logan Sargent in the Williams garage. Bang in the middle of your picture. Looks just wrong. Should be Franco Colapinto. Oh, and hello. MotoGP. They race a lot there. Ah, well, you learn something new every day. Good evening, Socks. Good evening, Ritz. Good evening, Goldilocks. How are you all doing? It is officially 52 minutes past the hour. Therefore, drivers have already started to ready up. We should be getting going in less than 30 seconds. And we'll have a look at the tyre situation once we load in. I imagine it's going to be a sea of yellow. The lovely yellow marked medium compound. Softs, I am told, die off incredibly quickly. Don't expect to see any soft tyres unless someone's going for fastest lap. It's weird seeing 10 cars as opposed to like 15 or 20. I was like, where is half the grid? I mean, who wouldn't want to race a track limit GP? Well, that guy's joined, and unfortunately for him, has joined at the wrong time. Good to you. Good to see you, Rids. You're too kind. So, tyre situation is this. It is a sea of yellow with a couple of anomalies. Deflated socks, both Red Bull runners. Interesting. Going for the hard compound. I imagine towards the end of the race their plan is the tyres are going to come back in our favour. Tyre wear is very high here. The nature of the high speed corners, you're going to get more friction on your tyres. You're practically weaving left and right on this track. Just taking the natural racing line anyway, so your tyres are going to be very warm. Rubber's going to fall off your tyres quicker than I fell off on this game, which was scarily quickly. No. What is my microphone doing? Possible race strategies. No stops. Thank you, game, for telling me that. So as everyone weaves to get temperature in their tyres, park up, Willow has missed his grid slot. It's gone too far, which means he will be starting a little bit further back than everyone else. JohnJohn here has a really good opportunity, as Sox does a similar thing, to get into the lead of the race. And away they go. JohnJohn alongside, as expected. Willow pulls out to the outside to try and swing that Sauber around the outside, which he does to maintain the position. Very nicely done there. As battling in the back, got IIRL, Sox, Padge swapping places. We have a Red Bull of Sox going a little bit wide, not losing a place. That's the classic tyre smoke, commonly seen nowadays on the game. Only 10 laps in this sprint race, and next time around we will have some DRS. There's only one DRS zone on this track. Down on the main straight, you can see the green little circle there on the track map to the right of it. That's the detection zone, so if you are within a second of the car ahead in that detection zone, you will get the benefit of DRS down the main straight. The yellow circle, in case you don't know, is the speed trap. So no DRS this time around. At the end of lap 1, Willow does lead. JohnJohn pulling out of the slipstream. Interesting. Maybe he wants to cool down those tyres. This is going to be a game of tyre management and staying within the track limits. Camper looks, he's gearing himself up for a move, trying to capitalise on any mistake from these top two. Deflated losing a tiny bit of ground, but on those hard tyres, I guess you kind of expect that maybe in the opening parts of this race. Sox, you can see, has fallen out of DRS range of IIRL P8. Maybe those hard tyres are difficult to warm up. Maybe once they're up to temperature, they'll be absolutely fine. Chivers is right behind Deflated and looking for a move. Deflated is pushing. Try and get back in DRS range of the top three. Those hard tyres just not quite giving the grip in this phase of the race. Potentially it will come back to him, but for now Deflated has more defending to do rather than attacking. John then, rear wing open, you can see. Again, pretty basic manoeuvre. Not basic as in bad, just basic as in simple. Simple move, nice. Gets the lead. Behind. Deflated got by Shivers, who had his thunder stolen by Girthy Steve, who made a double move into turn 1. Has made his way past Greg as well into turn 1. He's swapping of places. Those are your position changes in the opening stint so far after the opening 2 laps of this Grand Prix. JohnJohn finds himself in the position that Willow found himself in moments ago. Deflated Aya right behind. There goes Chivers. Aya's pass deflated. Bit of a twitch from Girthy. Looked like he may have exceeded track limits there. Play fighting back. Ultimately, not quite enough room there on the outside and ends up conceding that position. Willow leads this race once again. Oh, as we have Girthy Steve going round. Oh, that's not something you want to see. And recovers by making the move on this teammate. It's never nice to see someone spin. So Chivers with Steve spinning, and he was in between himself and Aya, and now has a 1.2 second gap where Girthy Steve would have been. So that's why Chivers has escaped the DRS window for Aya, but Aya is closing bit by bit to try and get back in that range. JohnJohn retakes the leads. Got Camper. He's in a nice position here, just needs to make sure that he doesn't get any time penalties. Try and force these top two into maybe making a mistake, getting a time penalty of their own. Quite fitting that the two cars leading this Grand Prix are possibly the nicest two liveries on the game. Chat, I'd love to know your feedback on that. What's your favourite livery in the game? Beautiful orange compared to striking green. Girthy Steve on the end of lap 5 gets the first time penalty of the sprint race. First time penalty of the week. What an honour. Can't wait to see what Cadillac pull out. In brackets, GM. Yeah, should be fun. I guess, you know, other constructors will be changing their liveries as well. Obviously Mercedes have had more of a black livery, a silver livery, bluish livery. Sox joins the penalty gang. Be surprised if less than 5 drivers get time penalties here. Expecting an influx very soon. Bit of a slide from John. Those medium tyres maybe starting to reach the point of losing grip. Willow gets a mighty run through the last corner. Pulls out and it's DRS GP so far. It's deflated, makes his way past Chivers. And now we're going to see if those hard tyres are the right tyre to be on. Deflated now has a few sectors, 2 sectors to be exact, before the next DRS zone. Let's see if he can close. It's currently 3.1 seconds behind Cog Camper. two battles, both involving 3 drivers at the moment. Fortunately, the 4 towards the back aren't in any heated rivalries right now. So looking at this lap so far, Deflated has pulled a bit of a gap on Chivers, getting out of the DRS range. However, has not made too much headway on the top 3. Maybe in a lap or two that interval is starting to go down. But with the DRS games that John and Willow are playing, they're going to have a benefit of around 3 or 4 tenths per lap on Deflated, who doesn't have it. There you can see back to 3.5 now behind. That's just because he didn't have the DRS down the main straight. John seems to be struggling a little bit more with the rear of the car than Willow. Willow seems to be a bit more in control of the car. I think John's rear of the car is just a little bit squirmy at times. It could just be down to setup, could just be down to confidence, could be down to driving style, could be down to, I don't know, what they have for breakfast potentially. Maybe Willow's just had some awesome Weetabix today. JohnJohn's American, so he's probably had some, what do they call it? American cereal, I can't remember what it's called. Zaya gets penalty. Maybe John's had some Sour Patch Kids. Willow goes to the outside. Needs to make this move before the corner, which he does, otherwise John could easily send up the inside and try and keep hold of that first place. Chivers and I are using DRS nicely. Back in range of Deflated. Zaya goes wide. Already has a time penalty. Doesn't want to get another one though. Otherwise there is no hope of potentially getting into the top 4. Lap 9. Penultimate lap. Again, short sprint races are short and sweet. I reckon JohnJohn's in a good situation here. Oh, it's Deflated. 3-second time penalty. Chivers doesn't need to do anything heroic here. Just needs to make his way past. I would say JohnJohn's in a good spot here. Although, I reckon Willow's dumped his battery. Dives down the inside. Willow's alongside, gets a decent run out of the exit of 1. Has the inside for 2. Keeps the position. The reason why I'm saying JohnJohn was looking good there was because, well, the DRS advantage doesn't really come into effect until just before turn 1. So theoretically, whoever's leading at the start of the final lap has the advantage to take home the victory. And Willow has saved enough battery to absolutely mash his energy store into the ground, stay ahead into turn 1, and he could be reaping the rewards as a result. I know it's only a bonus 1 point compared to first and second, but still. That will set a precedent for the Grand Prix. Camper, don't think he's really had extra pace to challenge the top 2. I think he'd be more than satisfied with P3 though. Chivers currently in P4 and Deflated an eye with those 2 time penalties as JohnJohn looks for a move up the inside. Needs a good exit. Willow gets a bad exit here, and there goes the ERS. Oh, and he... oh, look at that. 17 thousandths of a second, and Willow's twitchy exit at the end of the final corner almost cost him the sprint victory there. But in the end, Willow's battery saving was good enough to get him that victory. Very entertaining race, although there was only 10 of them. Remember, that guy has joined, so he will be driver number 11 for qualifying. So you have it. By a hearty 17 milliseconds, Willow takes the victory to JohnJohn. One of the more closer finishes you'll see to a Grand Prix. Camper on the sprint podium held his own, just didn't quite have the extra pace to challenge for the win there. Chivers beats Deflated Anaya in the battle of the time penalties to take home P4. Greg and Gerthy will get points. All their constructors, Padge and Socks, unfortunately, will miss out. But this is where the real points come into play now. We have a 18-minute short qualifying session, followed by a 26 lap or 25 lap, one of the two, Grand Prix. I think it's 28 or 29 actually. I'm spouting utter nonsense. So it is that guy, not Top Gun. My apologies. And awaiting the first driver. Comes out now. It's a Mercedes. That guy wants to get back on the track, but get out nice and early. Get some practice laps under his belt. So 6 out of the 10 drivers kept it clean in the sprint race in terms of track limits. However, this race coming up is almost 3 times as long. I imagine we're going to see some interesting time penalty totals tonight. Gerthy first out on track, hoping to avenge, get a better run in after that spin in the sprint race. Was running up in P4 or 5 at the time. Dropped to P8 in the end, but I'm sure Steve has the pace to be able to challenge for some points tonight. Ooh. I mean, I know it's his first lap in this session, and I'll give him as much grace as possible. But, yes, not the start that guy was hoping for. So instead, we will switch to Steve. Absolutely mashing those inside curbs there, pushing the limits of what is legal and not legal. Little bit of a lock-up. Keeps that on the track just about. Tricky turn. Well, turn 12 is not really the tricky one. Turn 13 is deceptively trickier than it looks, and turn 14 is just, well, turn 14 is the hardest one of those three. Get the turn in right, keep it in track limits, take as much speed as you can. Final corners, no easy feat either. Girthy kicks us off with a 1 minute 23.2. Deflator comes across the line to start a lap. And Chivers is on an outlap, followed by Padge, who has invalidated, so the next person across the line will be Aya. Mentioned earlier on tonight that in real life F1 the winners have been from pole. They've led every single lap as well of that race. Lewis Hamilton 2021, Max Verstappen in 23. And we have seen the sprint race won by the sprint pole sitter. Scott Camper invalidates on the final corner, dives back into the pits. Padge has invalidated once again, unfortunately, so no time on the board thus far. Chivers has also invalidated. What about deflated? He has backed off. It's recharging the battery, so must have made some kind of reasonable mistake to have backed off. There is only 11 drivers, so all but one of these drivers tonight will be scoring points in the feature race. Switch up then with that guy. Is he going again? He's on medium, so probably not. What about Greg? He's on an outlap. We've got JohnJohn who's on an outlap, so no one is on a flying lap right now that will count. That's Chivers. Sorry, that guy goes into the pitch. Chivers does start a new lap, so we'll go on board. Great drive from Chivers in the sprint race. I remember quite a few seasons ago now, Chivers unfortunately disqualified due to track limit penalties. I think it might have been a track like Canada or something like that, where track limits are very frequent, and unfortunately got disqualified. So you can tell it's come a long way since then. No track limit warnings at all, penalties here tonight so far. Oh, pushing the limits though. Fifty Steve sets a 23.2 on the mediums. Iron still leads the way on a 22.7, but this will be beaten by just under 1 second. Chivers goes quickest. Iron's 4 tenths up on the same set of medium tyres he's been on the whole time, and it's a 5/10 improvement, only 3 and a bit tenths away behind Chivers. What about JohnJohn then? Oh, very close to validating at the final corner, but keeps it on the track and reaps the rewards as Greg, just behind him, goes 4th fastest. John is our pace setter so far. Deflated has ditched those medium compound tyres he was on. Has opted for a new set of soft tyres. We have a Mercedes of Chivers, possibly coming into the pit at the end of this lap. We then have Aya, followed by Willow. Got Campers on a flyer. See what he can do. He invalidated at the final corner of his last run. Can he keep it clean this time? I like that line he just did through turn 10 there, the left-hander. Very nice, but to be honest, any of these drivers, any and all of these drivers do impress me compared to where I am on the game at the moment. Nowhere near the standard of these drivers. Oh, and that was a mighty last corner. This could be challenging for the front row, and he is indeed on the front row. Only 51 milliseconds behind John Boy. Small corrections, didn't quite hit the apex on the final corner there, Deflated, but oh well, didn't really matter in the end. Look at that. 4.5 tenths of a second is his advantage, and everyone right now is living in a Red Bull sandwich. Yes, even you watching at home. It's like the lesser known Subway sandwich. It's a Red Bull sandwich. So Cod dives into the pits. Padge, can he get a clean lap on the board? Not on this occasion. Has been struggling with invalidations throughout quali tonight. There is time for Padge to refuel the car and go out again. We have 2 Red Bulls as that guy gets out of the way of Willow, who has got the track somewhere. And goes back into the pits. Staying out, that is that guy. JohnJohn behind him on track, starts another run. Very competitive times though, you can see in the top 5. And 1/10 separates JohnJohn in 2nd, Cobb Camper in 3rd, that guy in 4th, and Chivers in 5th place. So it could be Quite a difficult battle to see who's going to get on the front row alongside Deflated Wee at the moment. Deflated leads by 4.5 tenths of a second. Can anyone challenge? Expect to see Willow up there, currently without a time. Girthy has set his run on medium tyres, so you'd expect there to be an improvement there as that guy comes into the pits. Deems that his lap is not good enough. What about John though? He goes 6 tenths quicker and goes provisional pole. Very nice lap indeed. Approaching the end of the third and final sector, currently sat in P6. In terms of time-wise and lap time-wise, he's a bit alone at the moment. He's got 4 tenths ahead of him, 5 tenths behind him, but that's much more like it. There we go, 0.3, puts himself in P3. And that's a handy lap. Gets him above Cod and the two Mercedes. So Greg from AT2 Championship battle to the NA battle. Does get a 3/10 improvement, even though it was a small corner cut. I assume Greg lifted off. That's why the lap wasn't deleted. So I assume Greg can go even quicker than that. Everyone rooting for Padge here to get a lap time on the board. Would be a shame to see any of the bottom three without a valid lap time. Willow and Sox still in the pits, need to come out if they want to get a lap time on the board, unless they are intending to start near the back. Aya has called it quits. It's the best he can do in this session. Very handy 1:21.3. Will he keep third though? That's the question. Nice line from Padge. Very smooth, assured, confident. Car very much under control. He's got a clean lap on the board, but how quick will it be? 22.7. Currently good enough for 8th place, ahead of his teammate Girthy Steve, who is in the pits and is not moving on the track, so I assume that will be it for Steve. And as JohnJohn comes out of the pits, it's going to be touch and go whether he makes the line or not. So Greg back into the pits. Best he can hope for is 7th in this session, as we have that guy on an outlap. Chivers, his teammate, has just invalidated, so he will have just enough time to get round again. He needs to switch off his battery and recharge it. Sox and Willow are both out on track. As Deflated starting a lap, soon to be followed by Willow and Cod Camper and Sox. Haas of Padge coming back into the pits. P8 will be the best he can start in this session. JohnJohn will get to the line in time. But will Chivers get to the line in time? Yes, he will. So that guy, the first across the line, check in on how he's doing. He's narrowly up on his personal best through the first 2 sectors. Needs 1/10 to beat Cod Camper Has he found it in this final sector? Yes, he has. Very nice. Deflated. No indication on the lap delta. So we're going to have to find out the dramatic way. Bit of a twitch out of the final. Opens the rear wing and loses time. Will have to stay second at best. What about Willow? Comes to the line, sticks to the left and sticks it on provisional pole as Cog Camper goes provisionally third with a nice lap there, being deflated by 4/100ths of a second. Sox has invalidated this lap. Unfortunately, will not get a valid lap time on the board and will start 11th. But what about JohnJohn though? Coming around the final corner, he's 1/4 of a second up, needs a 1/4 of a second to win, and goes provisional pole. Wow. Yeah. Chivers invalidates, unfortunately, and will stay behind his teammates for the race in P7. So Willow got pole in the sprint qualifying and took the sprint win. This time, JohnJohn leads Willow. Will that be a foreshadowing to the race result, I wonder? So they have it very close there between JohnJohn and Willow, who share the front row. Also very close between Cold Deflated and Aya, who sit 3rd, 4th and 5th respectively. That guy in Shivers. Nice Mercedes team battle going on there for P6. Greg slots his kick Sauber into 8th. Padge leads the 2 Haas cars in 9th. Gertie Steve behind him in 10th. Sox in P11. Another 5-minute break between qualifying and the race. Those RB mechanics look incredibly bored. But for the drivers out there, they will not be bored right now. They will be preparing themselves, having a slight breather from that 18-minute quali session. 28, 29 laps approach them in what is going to be a war of attrition. There's no real rests in this track. The only time you have to breathe and just calm down a little bit is down that main straight. But if you're battling other cars, it doesn't really feel like a very relaxing time. The rest of the lap will be foot to the floor, keep it in the track limits, and go as quick as you can, obviously. So this is a nice little breather for the drivers. Fresh watching at home, chance to grab everything you need for the next 40 minutes or so. So chat, this may be the last time you see me as a streamer, definitely before Christmas, so let us know, what are you hoping for Christmas? What have you asked for? What are you hoping for? What have you written on Santa's list? Anyone asked for socks? Not socks as in the person racing here, but actual socks. Because You always seem to get socks, right? But you never want socks, you always get socks. So it's almost time. Less than a minute to go until they'll be readying up. Hope you're ready for this. Should be fun. So formation lap underway. And here are the tyres. In the sprint race we had Deflated and Socks starting on the hard tyres, everyone else was on the mediums. This time it's a little bit different. Deflated, again, starting on the hard compound. This time Socks is on the mediums for the start of the race. Very even split. 11 drivers, 5 on the hards, 6 on the mediums. And what's interesting is there is a switch of strategy between JohnJohn and Willow. Very interesting. You did see at the start of the sprint race that those medium tyres were giving enough grip for people to pull out 1 second leads on others. Saw that with Socks and Deflated. So I wonder if Willow and Cod will make moves up the field, some quick past JohnJohn, try and leave JohnJohn in the void behind them. I wonder if that will be the plan, the hope, the strategy, the reality. Guess there is only one way to find out, and that is by watching. Of course, if you think you can do better than these drivers, why not join us? Either let us know in the Twitch chat that you like your racing and you want to join. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment. Someone, I think, potentially got disqualified there from the start. Oh, drive through for a jump start for both Aya and Chivers. I imagine one probably reacted to the other one jumping, but oh, they're 3 wide through the first corner. Aya's, I don't know if he's just caught in a bad position or if he's letting drivers through. He was going a little bit slower than some of the other drivers there. Willow does take the lead down the inside of JohnJohn, you saw there into turn 1. Very nice move indeed, using the extra grip of the medium compounds to good advantage. We saw JohnJohn do something very similar on the opening lap. We tried to go down the inside of Willow. Willow does take the lead. There's a yellow flag as we have Gothy Steve going for another spin. Qatar is not his favourite track, it would seem. As Willow has already pulled, vaguely 1 second. I mean, there's no DRS on this lap or next lap. Well, it will be the end of lap 2, but yeah, you know what I mean. There's still a whole lap before the DRS gets activated, and he's already got a second gap. As into the pits come Aya and Chivers to serve their drive-through penalties immediately. Very, very smart in case there's a safety car. But Aya, on the way into the pits, has got a 10-second time penalty for speeding. So he's replaced a bad penalty with a not as bad but still bad penalty. Very unfortunate. So, after lap 1, this is how it looks. So Willow getting past JohnJohn. He's got a 1.7 second lead already. JohnJohn is going to hope that the tyre offsets that he's getting in the second stint is good enough to catch Willow in the second stint. But for now, Willow, all his job is to try and make that gap as big as possible before the pit stops. And with Cod Camper right on the back of JohnJohn, and that will be a track limits warning. Deflated also is there, and that guy you can just see in the background behind Deflated's Red Bull. It's going to be a very difficult stint for John. DRS, the first time we've seen it tonight, well, in this race at least. And Cod Camper using it very nicely. Cod Camper has sat behind JohnJohn in every single lap tonight so far, aside from qualifying of course. That is his first move on the newly crowned Season 7 NA champion. Wonder if Deflated is thinking, right, next lap, that'll be me flying past, or will JohnJohn be able to stay in Cod Camper's DRS window, use it to defend? Willow took the leads as he needed to, and now is getting on job. Full a gap. Not sure how much of a gap he's able to pull. Depends on Cod Camper's pace really. If Cod Camper's quicker than Willow, then Cod Camper's going to drag all the other guys back into the fight for the win. So Willow needs to stay consistent here. Don't get any time penalties. Don't give your your rivals any hope behind you. Stay sensible out there. Look after your tyres as best you can. Willow sets a new fastest lap of the race. JohnJohn has stayed close enough to use the DRS and has used it very nicely. This kind of situation where you've got 4 drivers here, John, Cod, Deflated, that guy. You've got 4 drivers battling for one position, basically. And obviously the driver at the front doesn't have the DRS advantage. But what you'll find is the person who's 2 behind, so Deflated in this case, in P4, yes, he has the DRS, but he's not close enough to the leading car of this group to get the move done with the DRS, so either he's going to have to mash his ERS and just go for a really risky move into turn 1, or he's forced to basically sit behind the 2 drivers in front of him, because yeah, it's hard to overtake Cod Camper when he's got DRS too. So this is kind of an odd situation for Deflated and that guy. Do they be super aggressive, make the moves and drain their battery, or do they sit behind, force them into little mistakes, get track limits, warnings? I thought we saw Cod Camper get 1 as he moves to the outside and goes back into 2nd place. You see there Deflated where he had the DRS, it's just he's not close enough to make a move into turn 1, so this is probably going to be a very recurring theme for the next 5 or 6 laps until the pit stop window opens, where Cod and John are going to swap places. And Deflated and that guy are just going to sit behind. Willow, you just saw in the foreground there, as we spectate these 4 battling for P2. Cod Camper makes a bit of a mistake there into turn 10. John thought about going for the move and gets it done. That guy being the most patient, I think, is the way to describe this fight, and now this is where Deflated has an opportunity. Cod Camper seems to have lower wings, and this is Deflated's chance, is it? No, he just lifted off slightly. Decided to let the 2 ahead of them fight. Deflated is more keen to keep charge in that battery. That guy definitely isn't going for anything too foolish. However, that will be a track limits warning for that guy. So definitely Cod and that guy have one that we've seen on track that most likely will be a warning. Deflated goes a little bit wide. Camper. Well, there you have it. Definitely was a warning, because there's the first 3-second penalty of the race. And we are only on lap 6, unfortunately for him. JohnJohn practically pushing Cod Camper through this section. Looked like maybe through turn 13 there, JohnJohn went a bit too hasty on the curb, and there is a bit of lag from Cod here. DRS is open. Will Deflated go for the move here, I wonder? No, again he lifted off. Deflated quite content just to be a bit more patient, not go for anything stupid. Of course, because this is such a high wing track, as soon as you get an element of wing damage, that's it. Your pace will drop drastically. This, by the way, is massively helping Willow. You can see the gap has extended now. In the first 7 laps, he is there or thereabouts, 4 seconds in the lead, and in a very commanding position. In case you have just joined us and you want to know the tyres, there it is on the screen. JohnJohn and Deflated both using the hard compound tyres, which means in theory they will be quicker in the second stint after their pit stops. As Padge joins penalty gang. Nice battle heating up also for P6. 2 of the 3 championship contenders in Assist Tier 2. Greg leads Sox. This is a good practice for them as well, for Sunday night. If you're upset that the real life championships are pretty much sorted now, with obviously Max winning in where was it again? Las Vegas on the weekends. If you're interested in a title battle, why not tune in on Sunday nights? Because Greg, Sox and Nifty are putting on an absolute clinic for us, and as I say that, Greg gets a penalty. Greg's going to blame me for that one, I imagine. Padge also behind, as Chivers joins the penalty posse. Girthy, recovering from spin on lap 1, was a solid, 5-6 seconds behind. Has now got to within 3 seconds of Padge, so obviously has some decent pace under his belt, just lacking the DRS assistance that some of these other drivers have. Chivers and I are battling as Girthy Steve now gets a penalty. Gosh, lap 9 was not a great lap in terms of time penalties for a lot of these drivers. JohnJohn has brought that gap down out front from 4 seconds to 3.4, 3.5. So has gained a few tenths this last lap. Are those medium tyres going off? I wonder. No changes in position in terms of top 5 in the last few laps. Everyone would be settling into a rhythm nicely now, especially those without penalties. If my experience on this game is similar to others, then as soon as you kind of get your first or second warning, that's when temptation and sometimes the habits lead to getting time penalties. Whereas the longer you leave it before your first warning, generally speaking, it's a bit less difficult to keep it clean. We mentioned earlier some of these drivers' setups are going to be extremely high wing. We're talking like maybe 50 to 46 front to rear wing, somewhere around that kind of guideline, as that guy in 5th place gets time penalty. Only 4 drivers now keeping it clean so far, the top 3 plus Sox. And with everyone's setup so similar in terms of the high wing setup, it's very difficult for anyone to have a real straight line speed advantage on each other. It's basically going to be, in order to overtake me, you have to use DRS plus quite a bit of your battery. And we are seeing that now as we finish the first third of this race. It's gone by very quickly. Gap has now stabilised out front, 3.3 the gap between Willow and John. Of course, Willow will be pitting before John, which means he'll have the benefit of new tyres while John is on old tyres, so Willow's going to get an effective undercut on John when he pits, which means when John comes out of the pit lane, he will not be 3.3 behind, he will probably be further back. So the last stint, John will have to be pure pace mode. Either that or hope for a safety car. And Willow doesn't have any more sets of medium tyres available. Steve and Padge fighting. Nice battle with socks actually forming between those three. Aya and Shivers. Also getting very familiar with each other. Oh, that'll be a warning for Shivers. You can see his left front there went fully off the track. Girthy Steve's made his way past Socks. As Deflated gets a time penalty at the exit of turn 14. Obviously that is going to be important as Camper pits. He is the first driver this race to make a pit stop for tyres after Aya and Shivers unfortunately jumped the start and had to pit for a drive-through penalty on lap 2. So Steve showing good pace here. He is catching Greg. Was 2 and a bit seconds behind, now 1.5. So Girthy's found his rhythm after a couple of spins in both sprint and feature race. However, the golfing class between the top 4 plus Camper, who's just pitted, and Greg, you can see there 16 seconds Greg is behind that guy. Willow leads this race by 2.7 seconds. It was 3.3 when JohnJohn was in P2. Those hard tyres are definitely now in better nick than those mediums. Question is, when will Willow pit? Generally speaking, I would say the earlier the better, in terms of what the game tells you. Just depends on how confident these people feel. Camper, you saw, pitted on lap 12. And Willow has stayed out for lap 13, but in goes Greg. In goes Padge. Girthy Steve is now released. Camper ahead of Chivers and Aya. Important that Cod doesn't get held up too much by Chivers and Aya behind. Chivers and Aya, of course, qualified relatively well, so they're not slow or anything like that. They could stay with Camper here. But it's important that Cod gets the benefit of that undercut nice and quickly. Gap has reduced out front to 2.2 seconds. Another couple of tenths on this lap. JohnJohn and Deflated using DRS very strategically, very well. There you see Willow in the foreground, dives into the pit lane where he relinquishes the lead of the race. JohnJohn will take over as the new race leader because Deflated has not made that move into turn 1. And where is Willow going to come out in relation to Camper? Camper is right on the back of Socks. Socks dives into the pit lane. camper is released. Willow is entering turn 1 now. So camper's not massively far behind here. Goathy Steve hasn't pitted yet. He is in the middle of Willow and camper. So now is the time for Willow to get those hard tyres up to temperature. Make the most of the new set of rubber before the top 2 pit. Try and keep an eye on the interval between the top 2 and Willow, currently 21 and a bit seconds. Camper's 5 seconds behind Willow. So, and a pit stop here for JohnJohn and Deflated. Maybe those mediums will be trashed at the end, but maybe they've given themselves enough time and enough laps to get the moves done in. So Aya gets time penalty. There goes Willow, who retakes the lead of the race. Goathy Steve, alongside Deflated, decided that's not his battle to get involved in, and allows the Red Bull driver to stay ahead. Camper now only a couple of seconds behind Deflated. If he can maybe get within DRS range, that'd be really, really useful. So the gap when Willow pitted was around 2.3 seconds. The gap after the pit stops is 2.6. That 1 lap undercut from Willow was only good enough for 3/10. And now JohnJohn and Deflated have a quicker set of tyres in the immediate condition. Goathy stays out, Chivers stays out, and so does Aya. All 3 of them yet to make a pit stop. The only 3 left. Everyone else has made their 1 mandatory pit stop. Chivers and Aya serving a drive-through penalty at the end of lap 1 for jumping the race start. I mean, considering they jumped the race start, to be where they are actually is pretty good going. Deflated, 6 seconds now worth of time penalties. Camper is 4.4 behind and has a penalty of his own. So as things stand, Deflated will not lose that 3rd place on time penalties. However, obviously needs to make sure doesn't get another one. As for JohnJohn, he is 1.4 behind Willow. Gap is reduced by around 4 or 5 tenths every lap. Willow set a new fastest lap of the race on those hard compound tyres, but Deflated quickly took it off of him with the benefit of the DRS. Chivers and Goathy are both pitted. Make their mandatory pit stop for a new set of tyres. I is still the only one out there who needs to pit. And JohnJohn, you can see, is tantalisingly close to getting in DRS range. We're on lap 17 of 29. This is our, well, Supposed to be penultimate race of the season, however we have Saudi Arabia slapped on the end from some reason. I think Saudi Arabia Grand Prix in race week 2 didn't happen, or something went wrong with it, so we're doing it at the end of the season. So this is our third to last race. JohnJohn already declared the champion after a stonking drive this season. Is no assist without the line? Yes, that is correct. No ABS, no traction control, no line whatsoever. It is not easy, and you need to practice a hell of a lot to get the consistency that these drivers are showing right now. Yeah, Travis, nice to see you. Hope you're well. How are you doing? We're going to jump to a different battle, as lovely as the battle for the leaders. Try and cover as many different battles as possible. Got Girthy, who's just made a pit stop onto the medium tyres. We'll have a pace advantage on those tyres compared to Sox and Greg. Of course, all three of these drivers race in Assist Tier 2 on Sunday nights. So this might be a nice little foreshadowing to Sunday evening. Sox having a marvellous drive in terms of not getting any time penalties. So Aya makes a bit of a mistake, goes off track, that guy goes ahead. Change for the leads. JohnJohn goes past Willow. Great, Greg. What am I saying? Great, thanks. Yeah, good to hear that, Travis. Is it your first time watching, or have you watched before? Aya gets another time penalty. I think he's up to 9 seconds now. 19 seconds. Yes, he served his drive-through penalty. And got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, plus those 3 track limits penalties as well. So 19 is the total for Aya. We'll have to watch out. Shivers behind, however Aya still needs to pit, so hard to know where Aya's going to finish right now as things stand. First time I wanted to see what's up on Twitch and this came out. Oh, I'm glad you stopped by. All the better for having you. Racing in another league, so looking for some strategies. I like your style. Aya does finally pit from 6th place. There's more penalties coming up on the top of your screen. I reckon, Travis, it's probably a 1-stop. None of these drivers have attempted a 2-stop or have shown signs that they are going to do a 2-stop strategy. So I reckon those on the hard tyres right now started on the mediums, and vice versa. Those who are on the mediums started on the hards. So just whatever your preference is. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like Willow's really losing much time to JohnJohn, even though he is on technically the slower compound of tyre right now. So maybe there isn't too much of a tyre performance gap between the two tyres. Willow loves that line. It's practically off the track. And I reckon he used some battery there. Because, yeah, Turned into a bit of a homing missile. We'll test it tomorrow. You know, it was really close to a puncture. Okay. So, it's very interesting then. Potentially that gives us a bit of information about maybe what kind of tyre percentage these guys are on right now. I imagine after about 7 laps on the hard tyre, they're probably in the region of 25 to 30% right now. And they're only halfway through their stint. That's my rough estimate. Those medium tyres, however, they're 1 lap fresher, granted, but they're probably at a similar rate. I would say maybe John and Deflate's tyres are around about 30 to 33% right now. I could be wrong. But yeah, all depends on how these guys drive as well. So John. Again, we've seen this plenty of times tonight. Doesn't go behind for the slipstream. Just, I don't know if it's to do with tyre temps or whether it's just doing your own thing, but yeah, it certainly does seem very unusual that you wouldn't try to get the slipstream. Played right on the tail. Front left is crazy, it certainly is. Turns 12 to 14, the 3 fast right-handers at the end of the track are crazy. What league do you race in, Travix? Out of curiosity. A lot of our drivers race in other leagues as well as here in IRL, so you may know some people that race here. Everyone else very spread out. Sectors 2 and 3 right now. One battle going on between Greg and I. Greg must have had quite a monumental mistake, to be honest. He was ahead of Socks. So between Steve and Socks. So I think Greg has had some kind of issue there in P10 and has got Aya for company. And my goodness, how are these three staying this close without having some kind of Herculean accident? I do not know. Camper was rolling with John and Wee in the early stages after Willow escaped DRS in the opening few laps. But just hasn't quite had the pace of this top 3. I mean, 12-second gap in pretty much 15 laps, 16 laps. It's crazy when you think about it. And that guy as well, he was behind Camper in the train, and gosh, he's 20 seconds behind these 3 now. Just shows you how well and how consistently these top 3 are driving, and it's been that way for a while now. Mister's Racing League, I was checking out ARL, doesn't fit your timetable. Fair dues, not heard of either of them actually. Any good? So yeah, our race is Tuesday nights. Is the no assist bunch, or was Willow race leader with a time penalty? Has that decided the outcome? Or has JohnJohn got a couple of warnings that we don't know about? So Tuesdays are our no assist race. Thursday we have assist tier 1. Most assists allowed, aside from steering and braking assist. So Aya sets her fastest lap of the race. Go on, Aya. And then Sunday night we have assist tier 2, which is exactly the same as Thursday, except at a bit of a slower standard. In order to join our Discord, you would need an invite if you are willing to race. So let me know if you want to race. I'll pass on. I'll pass that on to someone, and yeah, if you want to join the league, then we'll get that Discord invite out to you. So, because I'm nosy, let's have a look at how many warnings JohnJohn's got. Got 1 on the opening lap and 1 on lap 12. So no warnings in the last 12 laps, which is good going. However, JohnJohn is on 2. Deflated has 6 seconds of time penalties, so for him to win this race, he needs a miracle. No offence, but something drastic would need to happen to the top 2. And with Willow only just getting his penalty, there's a likelihood that he's not going to get another one in the last 4 laps. So JohnJohn here just needs to stick behind, keep it sensible, don't get any warnings whatsoever, stay within DRS, and you're fine. You've won it on track. Alternatively, there is a possibility that Willow could try and get one of those warnings removed after the race, and therefore, if he's only got 3 warnings, he could get that 3-second time penalty taken away. We don't know that. Oh, as Socks gets a penalty. Oh, he kept it clean for 25 laps. He's still getting a shout out. I was going to say every driver that gets a fully clean race in terms of time penalties gets a shout out, regardless of where they finish. Camper gets another penalty. Let's have a look at the penalties coming up to the end of this race now. I's made that second pit stop, which means that no, sorry, he got the 10 seconds removed in his first tyre pit stop. So no one above 10 seconds, which is quite nice. Usually you have kind of 1 or 2 drivers who venture into the 20 seconds on tracks like these, and you know, it's hard not to feel sorry for them, but everyone kind of, you know, staying sensible with it. Greg gets 9 seconds now. Oh, plethora of drivers on 9 and 6 seconds. Unfortunately, you can't race those days, but you'll follow her on Twitch, and if you have time on some of the days, I'll let you know. Oh, well, that's very kind. And, yeah, if I never see you again, hope your league racing goes well, dude. Three to go. And John has been on 2 warnings since lap 12. This is lap number 15 in a row without a warning. Does Deflated try and force JohnJohn to go quicker? Get a warning himself? Is he biased of who wins this race between Willow and John? Let's good luck with the league. Oh, you're too kind, mate. Thank you. Two to go. Willow leads. Will JohnJohn attempt to win it on track? He's could have gone for it there at the inside. He's attempted that move before, and Willow has swung it around the outside and maintained the lead, but he didn't try it that time. Yellow flag in the end of sector 1. That was Greg, who is currently the only driver who will miss out on points, unfortunately. No retirements, which is nice, refreshing to see. A couple of mistakes here and there from some of the drivers tonight, but ultimately it's been nice stuff. I mean, sure, time penalties, but you know, can't really expect, you know, every driver to keep it clean out there. There's more time penalties. JohnJohn doing what he needs to do. And as they start the final lap of the race, will JohnJohn... He's using battery. But he's not close enough. But he doesn't need to be. He can win this race by just sitting behind Willow. Very mature drive, and perhaps that one mistake from Willow there, getting that 3-second penalty, did decide this race's outcome. It's been not the most dramatic 29 laps you'll ever see. However, it has been interesting. These three have been fighting the whole race. Willow took the lead into turn 1 on the quicker tyres, pulled a 4-second gap through strategy and tyre advantage. JohnJohn and Deflated came back at Willow, and after the pit stops, the gap was 2.6. John and Deflated had a good run getting back into this DRS fight, which we're now calling it, and then time penalties took over. Deflated fell out of the pecking order in terms of the race win, although he will still be on the podium. And in the end, Willow, or 6 seconds, well, it doesn't mean anything in terms of final results. However, JohnJohn has been the one to keep it clean, and ultimately that has decided this race. Willow finishes first on track, but JohnJohn will take the victory after qualifying on pole. Once again, the pole sitter has won here tonight in both sprint races and feature races. Will that happen later on in this week? And thank you for the raid, ETSR Streams, with the raiding with the party 2. Thank you very much. Welcome on in. You've just come to see JohnJohn win our reigning back-to-back-to-back no assist champion. Has won here in Qatar. Golcamper finishes 4th in a lonely race for the vast majority of it. That guy who only joined in qualifying, good pace to finish there in P5. Chivers finishes in P6 after jumping the start and having to serve a drive-through. Girthy Steve has had a couple of spins tonight, however has been resilient, never gave up, never gave up, and finishes in P7 to take home some points. after jumping the start as well and getting a lot of time penalties tonight, will still finish in the points as Socks will jump him on time penalties. So yeah, nice result there for Socks. Padge comes home to take the last point of the night, as Greg had a few issues in the race tonight. Fortunately won't score. Seems like we're a little late to the pie. Yes, you know, most races start at 7:30, don't they? Tend to finish at similar times. No, thank you for the raids. And yeah, if you're on Twitch now, feel free to drop ETSR streams a follow. So confirmation of the total points from tonight. JohnJohn and Willow exchanging first and second places from the sprint and the feature race. But JohnJohn getting the most points from tonight. Very close there between Deflated Camper, 19 to 18 tonight. Chivers and that guy. Good solid haul for Mercedes. Everyone scoring points tonight in some capacity. Always lovely to see. There are the results of the sprint in case you missed it earlier. Feel free to pause or rewind the stream. As for the race, I gets the fastest lap of the race and a bonus point. Plenty of time penalties. The only person who kept it clean was the race winner, John. I am going to check if that is a new race record for IIRL. It's 122.9. Let's have a look. Unfortunately not, no. So, good attempts, but in the end, no record for you tonight. We have 2 more races this week. We have Assist Tier 1 and 2. Assist Tier 1 on Thursday night, 7 PM GMT, that is UK time. And at the same time, on Sunday night, we have Assist Tier 2. Exactly like AT1, except the drivers aren't as crazy quick. So as we already know, JohnJohn has won the title plenty of weeks ago, and McLaren have already won the constructors. So nothing to report in terms of championship standings. However, it's been a nice night. Qatar's a beautiful track, very challenging, very tricky, very twisty, and time penalty central. We're going to see more of that this week. So why not join us on Thursday night for Assist Tier 1? Thank you to everyone who's been in the chat. For Trevix, Rids popping in there at the end of the stream, thanks for sticking around, and for ETSR as well. Feel free to give them a follow. They probably do some racing as well, so if you like that kind of stuff, drop a follow, see what they're all about. And yeah, we'll see you on Thursday for Assist Tier 1. Have a nice week, guys, and see you later.